Paris Metro will be an indispensable part of your Paris experience. Metro is short for Métropolitain, the Paris Metro, and it has been around for a very long time. I'm so happy to have it.
Enchanté.
Hello, lovelies. Welcome to the Paris with Angela podcast, the podcast for Paris lovers and trip planners. You don't have to be heading to Paris. Maybe you're just a Francophile and you just need some good factoid input. Today's show is all for you because we are going to start with part one of a two-part series on the Paris Metro. No doubt, if you are planning to visit the City of Light, you're aware that this is public transportation ground zero. This city was made for pedestrians. It's one of the reasons I love it so much over other major cities, Chicago, London. Paris has got it down when it comes to being the perfect place for pedestrians. And over the next couple days, I'm going to talk to you all about getting around in this fabulous, beautiful place. So of course, you know me, we're going to start with a little history. The Paris Metro will be an indispensable part of your Paris experience. Metro is short for Métropolitain, the Paris Metro, and it has been around for a very long time. I'm so happy to have it. It's one of my favorite things to do on my tours is teach my guests how to use the Metro. I want to instill in them a confidence in getting around the city. Many times my guests have never left the country. They're traveling solo, and I want them to know how to navigate this wonderful, wonderful space. By the late 1800s, Paris was facing traffic congestion due to rapid growth and expansion. And they were looking over at London and seeing the London Underground, and there was an increasing demand for an urban rail system in Paris. So the French government and the city of Paris started discussing the need for an underground transit system in the late 19th century. The plan was formally approved in 1898, and the project was driven by engineer Fulgence. How's that for a name? Fulgence Bienvenu and architect Hector Guimard. And truth be told, I hope I'm saying Hector's name correctly. His last name, that is. He later became known for those beautiful Art Nouveau station entrances that are so iconic still to this day. Now, if you listen to the first episode of this show, we talked about the Exposition Universelle. You know, there were multiple ones that took place over a variety of years. In 1900, France also had a World's Fair, and that is when the first line 1, was opened. Line 1 connected Porte de Vincennes in the east to Porte Maillot in the west. We are going to learn what it means when you hear the word porte, which looks like P-O-R-T-E, as you're reading your French travel guides. We're going to learn what that word means, in particular, when you're talking about the city of Paris, in the next episode in this series on the Paris Metro. By the early 20th century, the network was expanding rapidly, and in the first decades of the 20th century, it was hot. By 1920, the Paris Metro had 10 lines and covered most of the center city. Now, in the interwar period, that is World War I, World War II, the system did continue to grow by adding more lines and extending existing ones. The focus was on improving connectivity and serving the growing population. After World War II, the Metro saw further expansion and, of course, modernization. And stations experienced refurbishments and improved capacity and efficiency, which, thank goodness, they're still doing today. In the late 20th century, in the 1960s and the 1970s, we saw constructions of new lines, such as Line 13 and Line 14. These lines, once again, accommodated the city's growing needs. Line 14 opened in 1998. It became the first fully automated line featuring driverless trains. And now I want to talk to parents that are taking their children to Paris because the driverless trains are very fun. Today, some of the trains have built-in fake panels at the front and back cars, and your children can pretend to drive the trains. My boys in particular loved that. If you'd like an episode or multiple episodes on Paris with children, be sure to let me know in the comments if you're watching over on YouTube or when you're leaving a review of this podcast. Now, as you can imagine, constructing something like an underground railroad system in a city that dates back to before the time of the Caesars, things are going to be discovered. And that's where I get excited. For example, King Louis Philippe's wall was discovered. This was a defensive wall built around Paris in the mid-19th century. It's been since mostly dismantled, but remnants and historical references can be found within the city and in the infrastructure of the city, like the metro system. So if you're on the lookout for Louis Philippe's wall, you will find it on line 4 at Porte de Clignancourt. Near this station, you can find remnants of the wall's northern sections. You can find it at Porte de la Villette at line 7, Porte du Patin, line 5, Porte de Versailles, line 12, and many more, which I will list either in the show notes or in an upcoming newsletter. So be sure to check the show notes in case there is a subscription opportunity for you to get signed up to the Paris with Angela newsletter. And that way I can give you written information to help you plan your very best trip. At Louvre Rivoli, line 1, you will see parts of the wall. These can be seen inside the Louvre Rivoli station. So this is a really popular station that no doubt you're going to pass through. The station is really beautiful. It features a historical theme with display cases showing artifacts from periods of Parisian history, including the wall. You'll also see it at Bastille, line 1, line 5, line 8. The Bastille station, particularly on line 1, features visible remains of the wall. And the station's platform and quarters have sections where the ancient stones have been preserved and displayed. Again, I will include more of this information either in the show notes or in an upcoming newsletter, so be sure to check out the show notes of this special edition of the podcast so you can see which direction I decide to go. The podcast is brand new. I haven't decided if we're going to do a newsletter yet or blog or put everything in the show notes, but I have lots more information to share with you. As you can tell, the creation of the metro and the ongoing expansion of the metro really turned out to be a significant urban archaeological project, revealing layers of the city's history. This contributed to the field of urban archaeology and helped really shape this modern understanding that we have of Paris today. Discoveries during the metro construction led to increased efforts to preserve and document Paris's historical and archaeological heritage. Many finds have been cataloged and are displayed in museums, enriching the cultural history of the city. You didn't even think it was possible to make it a more culturally rich city? Think again. So not only Louis Philippe's wall, but also the ancient city of Lutes plays a role in the building of the Paris metro. Lutes, Lutetia, is the ancient name of the city of Paris, and near Notre Dame, the cathedral, which, yes, is opening this year in December, and we will definitely do an episode on that, but workers found remnants of the ancient Roman city of Lutes, including parts of the Roman Forum and the public baths. These discoveries provided valuable historical context and, of course, were carefully documented and preserved where possible. So that's a little bit of the history of the metro that you will use, no doubt, multiple times a day when you're visiting, but how to use it, how to get around, how to pay for it, how to navigate it, and how to make it serve you during your vacation and get the very best experience you can in this city of light. Tune in to the next episode of Paris with Angela. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know and feel confident and fabulous on the Paris Metro. Today's show is sponsored by dryfarmwines.com/Paris with Angela. These are biodynamic, organic wines. These are the wines that I drink. They are from small family farms in France, French chateaus, and beyond. No added sulfites, no added sugar, just what you're looking for. Biodynamic wines are in fact becoming more and more popular in Paris, and now you can experience these beautiful wines in your own home. You can be treated to an extra bottle for a penny with your first order. You can subscribe or place a one-time order by visiting dryfarmwines.com/Paris with Angela. Of course, if you'd like to come on one of my trips in 2025, I have 8 spaces left for April, and there are 2 different trips to choose from. You can visit ParisianFarmGirl.com/Paris with Angela. Parisian Farm Girl is the channel that started it all. Of course, I'd love for you to check that out if you were interested in inspiring French lifestyle content. Thank you so much for being here. Tune in to the next episode of the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. Tell me about some of the historical things that you've seen when traversing the Paris metro, and tune in to the next episode because I'm going to tell you exactly how to use it. I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for joining Paris with Angela, the podcast for Paris lovers and trip planners. À bientôt.